Alrighty. Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Designer's Den. My guest this week is RP Davis, who is a very prolific author on the DMs Guild. It's been around since, I don't know, like the dawn of it, something like that.
Not exactly. I think my first title went up in August of 2016, which isn't quite the dawn, I don't
Hmm.
think.
You know,
Anyway,
I have a hard time remembering. Jeff Stevens knows the exact time and date. We should.
call him up. Call him up.
But yeah,
Get in the chat, Jeff.
he might. He might. His brother shows up. But yeah, so excited to have you here on the show today. Um, let's chat a little bit about some of your works. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
happy to.
because you have so many.
Yeah, there are quite a few. I lack focus.
Well, no, I wouldn't. I don't know if I would say that. I would definitely not say that because creating in general and getting something from concept through to publish requires a good deal of focus. So, um, I might
Yeah,
I might argue the opposite. Uh, you have too much focus.
well, it can. I mean, I've always got about 17 different things in various stages of completion,
Hmm.
so that I can jump from thing to thing to thing. When I get bored or stuck
Right.
with an adventure, I'll start converting some magic items, and vice versa. When I get bored with actual writing, I can do some layout. It.
Oh, layout. One of the demons that I have not yet conquered. Unless I'm using that amazing word template that Laura Hirschberner came up with.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
that's worth the price. That's worth
yeah,
that's worth three times the price.
yeah, definitely
I mean,
worth
I,
the price of admission.
I
Uh,
use Nathaniel Roux's InDesign templates,
oh, okay.
but yeah, if you're using Word, yeah, Laura's template is bomb.
Well, only because Adobe and I we're not really friends. It, it costs a lot of money, one, and it's not the simplest to pick up. It's not the simplest to learn in design.
No, no, that's like any other really capable power tool. The learning curve can be steep. We've had a sub to Creative Suite since Creative Suite has existed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to tell you what we pay a month because you'll jump through the internet and strangle me.
Less than I would have to pay. I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it's
You've been
the
grandfather. You've
grandfather.
been grandfathered in. Uh,
Yeah,
it's like,
but we use virtually all of it anyway. I use Audition for my voiceover work. We use Premiere Pro to create videos for YouTube and our website. We're using InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator, you name it. I just started using InCopy for the first time.
I don't.
Learning curve.
I don't even know what that is.
It's basically a way for editors because I do some proofreading for
Hmm.
Cubicle 7, and it's a way for proofreaders to get at the InDesign file right before it's ready to push the export button and hit those, make sure all the I's are crossed and the T's are dotted before the final product comes out without jiggering anything in the layout.
Ooh. Well, now that would
So
be handy because
oh,
normally
it's
when
super
someone,
cool.
yeah, I have a friend who writes directly into InDesign, which is not necessarily best practice, but
I'm sorry, you gave me a chill.
and so I usually end up annotating PDFs.
Yeah, we were doing that. We were doing that, and it was a complete pain in the tuchus. So they pulled the team together and gave us a tutorial, a very basic tutorial on how to use InCopy, and now, oh, so much easier.
Hmm, I might have to look into it. If only to save some heartache between me and that person.
Yeah,
I'm
if
not
they're
gonna
using,
I'm not gonna
if they're
call them
using,
out, like specifically not using any
probably
names.
best, probably best, yeah.
Yeah. Um
And I think the sub for that is like $30, maybe, and it's a write off. That's the way I've always looked at stuff like this. It's a
yeah,
tax
that's
write off.
true. That's true. My write-offs were low last year because I didn't travel anywhere.
Yeah, and because
Um,
you were always doing the con thing, weren't you?
yeah.
And
Um,
then
yeah. Welcome to the
0 con.
RPG freelance tax conversation, everybody.
Yeah, yeah. How do we network? Well, we're doing it now.
Mhm.
Honest to God, because just as I was starting to get connected, thinking, okay, I can do this con and that con and the other con in Europe, COVID.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, hosed all my networking opportunities right down the old flusher. But
I had like 4 new cons that I was gonna go to in 2020. Gary Con being one of them, since it was like an hour and a half drive.
yeah,
Um, Obviously didn't do any of that. Made it to Winter Fantasy.
yeah, you do. Your con schedule is. I don't know how you do it. Your constitution must be incredibly high because I could.
Ba-dum-tsh.
I'm a writer. It's I always come back from those things with the con crud. So like
Mhm.
one a quarter will be my tops.
Well, so the secret, which is probably not a secret and probably doesn't actually work, but I like to believe that it does, is to drink a lot of alcohol to kill the germs.
It's true. I mean, yeah, whiskey will cure a multitude of sins or ills. Yeah,
Yeah, gin, it makes you feel better.
that's
Um,
true. That's true.
it's good for your
That's true.
constitution. They actually used to, doctors used to prescribe it.
Yeah, it's true.
Have a shot of gin. It'll be fine. Give your baby a shot of whiskey. It'll be fine.
No lie, not a word of a lie. My wife had an Irish wolfhound
Mhm.
many years ago. Got him as a puppy, and when he was teething, he basically destroyed the house. he, he chewed on the walls.
So you gave
So
him some
they,
whiskey.
yeah, Jameson's
Hmm. On
on
the.
the gums every so often, and that put him right out. Parenting.
Well, you got to keep your parenting sanity. All right.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry.
so no, you're good. So want to talk first about the Tomes of Wizardry, Tasha's Tomes of Wizardry, which is the product that you worked on, that
Yeah,
you sent over. Uh, Let me open one of the 18 million PDFs I have up here. Um, I know, right? Um,
it's a
and
thing.
yeah, so obviously, Tasha's Tomes of Wizardry, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I could probably make an assumption on what the inspiring thing behind this was. You wanted to get a Tasha's thing out there.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the. You don't have to roll high for that.
yeah.
It's just
Um,
smart. And when you're in our business and a book comes out, you just you drop something out there that's related to it in content, and you glom the title as clearly as you can.
mhm,
And
mhm.
in this case, I had a bunch of books. Where are they here? Yeah, from third edition and back in the AD&D days.
Okay,
That
so your inspiration books that you've listed here.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the Complete Arcane, Richard Baker's Complete Arcane from 3 or 3.5, I misremember. Anyway, the others are all AD&D, and D,
Mhm.
and they listed spell books.
Right.
And one of the things that I loved about Tasha's, because unlike many designers, I didn't get started on this until after the book dropped. Lots of people are frantically going, "Oh my God, I got to tie in, got to tie in," but I never have the presence of mind to do that. So I waited till the book dropped, and I'm looking through it. And one of the things that really intrigued me was the spell books as magic items.
Mhm.
And I thought, I've got all this back catalog stuff here. I enjoy doing conversions. So in a frantic weekend of development, I went through all these books and came up with some, basically updated a lot of this stuff for fifth edition.
Okay. Yeah, and you've got
So
a bunch of good stuff in here. Um, no table of contents, but that's okay.
yeah, I noticed that after I put it out, and I probably should go back and do that.
I I love table of contents personally, but they're absolutely not necessary. Um, and yeah, um, good to have something that ties in though. Going back to your earlier point, I know
Yeah.
I was a little upset when I was project managing Encounters in the Far North, and someone had already published Encounters in Icewind Dale.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Yeah. It's I doubt I'll do anything for Candlekeep because I'm just too busy right now.
Hmm.
And Candlekeep is an adventure anthology anyway, so there's hardly I can't think of any angle to come at that I can leverage. So
You have the whole library. You can continue on your ancient antiquities and books, your scholars and sages.
it's yeah, it's a thing. I mean, one of the things that speaking of it, the anthologies and sages and stuff. One of the things that's been distracting me from actually getting any Candlekeep work done is a project I began last year of updating the Villon Reach for 5e
Uh huh.
because it hasn't really been touched since a few organized play modules in fourth edition. So
Right.
yeah, it's just been distracting me. And now I'm like, oh, Candlekeep drops in what, 2 weeks, a month? And I don't
uh,
even have,
less than that now. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I suppose I could do some more books and stuff like that. But, and plus, I'm, working on stuff for other people,
Mhm. Yeah.
working on non D&D stuff,
What?
which is eating up a
Preposterous.
considerable, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, eating up a prodigious amount of my time. So it is what it is. I'm happy to be getting out of the 5e stable. Started edging away from it last year, and still putting out 5e stuff. I love 5e,
Right. It's
but
good. It's good to branch out though, to have like a bit of variety. So all your eggs aren't in one basket. Speaking of distracted, Alan Tucker is distracted by your lovely COVID beard.
oh, I know, isn't it nice? I find I've never had one before. I've been clean shaven my entire adult life, and I landed here on like the 20th of December, and I shaved before I left the Netherlands, and I've touched it up a little bit since. And on the advice of my beard wearing friends, the other day I went out to the drugstore and got myself some
Beard.
beard balm,
Yeah.
Duke Cannon, some, manly. The marketing on that can is freaking awesome, but talks about, getting rid of the squirrels already nesting in your beard. But yeah, it,
I can't grow a beard.
no.
No. No.
But yeah,
Um.
my wife just told me this morning, as soon as you get back, that's coming off.
Enjoy your freedom.
Yeah, right.
Do
I'm,
bombs
I'm
explode?
I'm
No.
like, sweetie, the stuff I'm putting on it, it's got like jojoba oil and essential, like orange essential oils, and it smells nice. She's like, all right, okay, so it goes.
Yeah. Um.
Oh,
So not doing any candle keep. But I do imagine that you have other projects in the works because you've always got,
oh God,
as you
yeah,
said, um, a bunch of things simmering in the kitchen.
yeah. I've got a folder full of 5e adventures that are outlined, and I get to a point where I'm like, meh, bored, and drop it. But I've got a 5e setting
Mm,
that I'm going to be fleshing out more for kickstarting or Indiegogo next year, probably. That I'm actually I can tell people. I actually met the famous D&D former Wizards employee Chris Sims, who did editing work and development work on 3.5 and fourth and fifth edition.
okay.
He happened to find himself like an hour's drive away from me, so we met up, had lunch, and because he lives in Austria, outside of Vienna, but he happened to be close to me in the Netherlands, so we went and had lunch, talked shop. He came to my house like 2 weeks later for the weekend. We talked shop, And next thing you know, we're working on a campaign setting for 5e, but pulling in a bunch of different OSR threads.
Mhm. That's
So things like morale and reactions and stuff like that,
yeah.
and keeping it to the core four classes and core four races. Just simple. Like if you want to try and you want to get a taste, just a little taste of what your basic set experience was like. Here you
Mhm.
go. But having it set in its own campaign setting, just like the fourth edition had the Nentir Vale.
Right.
So a narrowly defined, small, geographically small setting that explains, cosmology and why the different in-game design choices were made. So we're gonna hammer that out finally. We've been working on that ever since. So we're gonna hammer that out and make it as perfect as we can make it before we stick it out there for people to help us get it out into the world next year. Um, that's one of the 5e things.
Mhm. One.
The, Working on a thing right now for Loresmith, who is a company in the Netherlands that does system and setting neutral GM assistant products.
Mhm.
They've
Okay.
done Remarkable Shops, Remarkable Inns are two books. Hey, I can plug, huh?
You
It's
gotta put it more in front of your face.
like that.
Right there. Yeah.
Okay, that well, the one that we're working on now, people who have seen the Kickstarter, it's the Kickstarter funded in like, I don't know, 20 minutes, some ridiculously fast,
Yeah.
but it's Remarkable Cults. And it's making me very nervous because I'm like looking at this and going, is I God hope to God my work is good enough to, this kind of, because no pressure.
It's fine.
Um,
It's fine. It's great.
but it's really exciting. There's a bunch of really cool stuff in here. If I though I'm tooting my own horn to say it, the concepts are just phenomenally good. So some of these things, I'm just taking these concepts and going, oh, okay, and just polishing them a little, rather than doing anything groundbreaking creatively myself. And just, it's going to be a good book when it comes out. I hope people like it.
I mean,
And
I can't think of very many people who don't love a good cult in an RPG. Like, it's good to have an a sprawling organization with which to set yourself at odds against. Um,
yeah, and
and
before I let you go on, I want to say one thing about the title. Don't get too hung up on the word cults.
right.
We used cults because remarkable, nefarious, but maybe not organizations that may or may not be villainous wouldn't quite fit on the cover.
All right. All
And
right.
it, 'cause
I
there
mean,
are shades of gray here, and they're not all cults.
not
We're talking,
all cults are necessarily bad. The word has a bit of a stigma, and like sometimes it's a cult of like just yourself. You really believe in yourself.
yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, there are cults, but there are also criminal organizations. There are any number of different types of organizations that can or may not be villainous,
mhm, mhm.
and how to integrate them into your game. So
Yeah,
I predict people are going to be happy.
along with a bunch of leader profiles, so archetypes, weapons,
Uh huh.
armors, beautiful artwork. There's a
Oh yes,
a
isn't
lo-
it gorgeous?
it really is. So I've dropped the link there. Kool-Aid is that's a terrible reference, Alan.
Alan.
That was a cult.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, it
That
was.
was definitely a cult.
I'm not going to confirm or deny that I mined real world cults and cult theory for any part of this book.
Hmm.
Nope. I, I actually got in discussions was told that cargo cults are probably not appropriate for a fantasy oriented. Yeah, but then I'm like Spelljammer.
Spelljammer confirmed.
Yeah, right. We're dropping stuff from space to make a cargo cult. No, no, Bob, no.
No, whatever works. Um, yeah, and you have, let's see, are these in any particular order? Okay, just to make sure.
Depends,
Sorry.
depends on what you're talking about.
Uh, I was looking at your DM's Guild catalog and making sure that this was the last thing that came out. Your catalog of consumables,
Yes,
Aristobulus. Um,
yes.
which
That was me taking a break from Remarkable Cults and falling down a very deep rabbit hole.
it
And
definitely has a very riveting cover. He's staring into my soul,
no matter
and
where you go, his eyes seem to follow you.
yeah, and it definitely looks like he's pouring boogers into that thing. So
Oh, I'm never going to be able to unsee that now, thanks.
you're welcome. Yeah, no, it's Hagrid and the dragon snot.
Yeah, must be. That's just I forget what I was searching on either Pexels or Pixabay, and that photograph came up, and I'm just like, gimme.
Oh yeah, no, it's perfect for you know, what you've got going on there. You got a kind of medieval looking
Hmm.
sciency guy with the wild hair and the beard
And the big ruff, and yeah,
and some mysterious liquid.
yeah, might be dragon buggers, might not. Who can say? But no, that's I'll continue. The last two books, the Tasha's Tomes and Aristobulus's Consumables, have both used photographs
Mhm.
from either Pexels or Pixabay for the covers because I've just found these cool photos and I thought about pulling them into Photoshop and making them pseudo paintings, and I'm like, nah,
No, they're just really good as they are.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it works, and the price is right,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it just otherwise it's just jamming stock art into it to take up negative space. So, yeah, that's another book of conversions. That's what I generally go to now these days for the guild is conversions because there's so much material that hasn't even been touched from previous editions.
Right. There are at least one, two, three, four, five. You know, three 6 foot wide and 6 foot tall bookcases worth of material, approximately.
Hmm. Yeah, it's I have much of it digitally, replaced much of it with digital copies, but a lot of it is, well, thankfully because all the physical books are back home in the Netherlands. But the being able to look at these and going, huh, you know, I wonder. I mean, that's how the Encyclopedia Formulae Arcana came about, where we just decided let's update all the spells, and we thought we'd get one of those done a month, and
No.
here it is 2 years later, and we're up to G.
Yeah, I was gonna say you haven't made it very far in the alphabet yet.
No, no, because I really had no friggin' clue when I started that each letter is going to have like 400, 500 spells. Yeah, yeah, but we're pedaling away slowly but surely.
You know, it. Yeah, it's fine.
And
There's just a
it's
bunch.
fine.
There's just a bunch.
Everything is fine. It's great. Um,
And that just means you have, let's see, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You've got like 20 more to add to your 124 items on the DM's Guild.
is that what the count is now?
That is what the count is.
Gee, many crickets. I stopped counting right around 100 and thought, nah, I don't need to worry about it
Mm.
because it. MT Black told me when we were working on Xanathar's Extraordinary Vault
Oh, yes.
that that just crank out stuff,
And
crank it out.
that's true. If you want to have a more predictable income stream, then
Hmm.
you've got to have quantity. It's got to be
Hmm.
good too, of course,
Yeah.
but you have to have quantity because that's what keeps that long tail of income.
The good news is the more you do, the greater the quality.
Correct. Practice makes
Because like
perfect.
anything else, it's practice.
Hmm.
So I look back, I very deliberately don't look at my early stuff because,
Well, your very first thing was you can try tips on becoming a better DM.
yeah, that that really did better than I thought. I just thought I was because I was working on stuff and I'd found the DMs Guild and I said to my wife, "What? I'd like to do something for this, but I have no idea." And she said, "You're an opinionated jackwagon. Just write up all your opinions and put it out there. See what people say. If people tell you you're a jerk, you can yell at them. If people tell you you're right, you'll love it." Okay.
I mean, she's got a point.
And then I did so you want to try or something like that, or the player's side of that. Then I combined them into one book. So that how to play good is the final iteration of those two jammed into one book. And yeah, it's just my opinions on how to run and play role, not even just 5e, but role playing games.
Hmm.
It's couched in 5e terms, but
Right.
it pretty much
It's the predominant game right now.
it's the elephant in the room.
Hmm. It's hard to avoid. But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's done pretty well. It's let's see, it's a gold bestseller.
Yeah, it went gold a while ago. I didn't even notice.
So, not bad for the first thing you throw up full of your opinions. And
Yeah, right?
since then you've kind of been all over the place. You've had adventures, you've had a lot of, like you say, conversions,
Mhm.
classic modules converted,
Mhm.
and then a lot of these just compilations of stuff for DM side. Um,
Yeah.
which actually, I find that you have more of the stuff geared toward DMs rather than um, adventures.
Yeah, I got away from adventures. I did some adventures early on, and I still do the odd adventure just to keep my hand in.
Hmm.
But one thing that, at least for me, I discovered was that adventures don't pay. Like
Well,
I'll have like the new consumables book sold like 30 copies in the first 24 hours, and I have adventures out there that still haven't sold 50 copies after 2 years.
right.
So, and that's a matter of market,
Hmm.
I think, because players are buying spells and magic items, and gear, archetypes, that kind of thing. But only DMs are buying adventures. So
Except the players that want a metagame.
yeah, and that on yeah, go ahead. You want to sell 2 copies to one party? Send me an email. I'll tell you what happens. I'll tell you where the traps and the locks are and everything.
And then the DM will promptly move them.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Um.
But yeah, for me, adventures, and maybe it's because I'm not as good at adventure writing as other people who are really good at it, and it's altogether probable because I'm horribly tropey when it comes to adventure writing. I'm an out and down type of DM and adventure writer because I started this 86, 87. So
You don't look that old.
now you're not seeing all the blonde hairs in my beard.
I feel like this is what I tell everyone every week when they're like, "I've been doing this since whenever," and I'm like, "Why are we lying?"
Yeah,
No.
48 as of last December. So
Yeah.
it, I've been around this big blue marble a couple of times, but yeah, it I don't like I can't write a mystery adventure to save my life.
Oh, okay. So the
Can't
first
do it.
the first thing I tried to write was a mystery.
Oh, oof.
I know, right?
I know all the rules, right? Like make sure the clues are in 3 different places and make sure that I know all the rules, but every time I do it,
It's
I get so
hard.
convoluted that my storyboard looks like that meme of the guy with the string and the pictures and the cigarette looking all manic. you know,
Or I
and then I
don't
get,
or you somehow end up not accounting for, like, if they find, like, A1 and C3, like, but they can't find any of the ones in B, and you're like,
yeah, yeah. So
"Oh."
no,
Yeah, they're hard. Uh,
I like the adventures. Go clear out the bandits.
I've
You
learned from
know,
that though. I haven't written adventures, and a adventures. I've written adventures, and I haven't written a mystery since then.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
it takes a
know your limits
special,
is a good thing.
yeah. Know my strong points, and that's not one of them. Um, yeah. So when you sit down and you decide to take on a new project, like how do you decide what you're gonna work on?
Well, really, it a lot of it has to do with it. Do I find it satisfying to work on it? I
Right.
have the privilege of not absolutely requiring my income from my game writing
Mhm.
to live on, and I'm terribly cognizant of that privilege. And but it that allows me to be able to go, yeah, it doesn't interest me,
Right.
and ignore it if the idea flashes into my head. Um, but there was a thought and it's gone. Restate the question, please. Don't fill the dead air while my brain
No.
goes.
When you're sitting there and you're trying and you're thinking you're gonna take on a new project, like how do you
Oh,
decide what to do?
these things they end up. Terry Pratchett calls it described these ideas sleeting through the universe,
Hmm.
and they might lodge in someone's head. It's usually I have so many ideas. I have an array. It's like a buffet of bullshit that I can pick and choose,
Hmm.
and I choose the I try to
Until
choose.
your plate overflows.
Yeah, exactly. And I try to choose the things that interest me the most and balance that with, and also are the least bullshit.
Hmm.
Um, so, the thing, I'm going to be starting a crowdfunding campaign soon for a totally new game, tentatively titled, well, not tentatively titled, it's called Spears and Spells. And it's basically a really, 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 really streamlined um, D&D that
Right.
uses only D6s. The whole game is like 50 pages, including all the monsters and treasure and stuff. Coming to Indiegogo soon. But that came about because, we've been living, eating, and breathing 5e
Hmm.
until, late 2019 when we started working on Toxandria, which is the Chaosium's basic role playing engine game we came out with last year. And it's still, hammering the hell out of 5e. And we just, we're so sick of crunch. Let's have something that we can, roll a character in 5 minutes and get going. So because somebody's character died, and a half an hour later they're still working on their character. And in the meantime, we're all just sitting there going,
It doesn't take that long to make a character.
but it takes even less in the Spears and Spells.
That's true.
The hardest part is the 6 die rolls and or the 4 die rolls for your stats. The rest of it is, all up here and very little in the book.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, but that we came up with that knowing that there's not a prayer that we're gonna blow anything out of the water like Free League with the One Ring, you know, uh, in terms of stacking up against the elephant in the room. But we wanted something different, so we did that.
Hmm.
And when it comes to choosing items, what to work on for the guild, yeah, there's look for the niche, look for what you think, where you think the empty spaces are, but primarily work on what interests you. Like I know I'm working on this Villan Reach update for the Sea of Fallen Stars,
Right.
and because I like it,
And because there's not really anything there right now.
yeah, there's sod all there, and because my favoriteest place in the realms has already been claimed by someone else, and I'm not going to step on George Krashos's project territory by going anywhere near Impilter. So
That's very kind.
yeah, well, I couldn't do it the kind of justice that he could because he's a lore nerd of that area, and I can't compete with that. Anyhow, so that I've been picking at for months and months and months, doing all of the. I did a thing on Thay last year.
A thing on Thay.
Yes,
That's very popular all of a sudden
the yeah,
recently.
the red is it? The red wizards have always been. I've been irritated since 5e came out that the red wizards are like comical now. I miss the days when they were an existential threat to the realms.
Hmm. Well,
So
I mean, they are a bit more of a threat. I don't know if you followed the latest Adventures League, but I don't know if you followed the latest Red Wizards storyline. Um,
I have not.
Spoilers for anyone who hasn't played them all. But they steal the Worm Skull throne and King Hecaton's body, turn him into a death giant knight, and turn the throne into the phylactery for Imarith.
Oh, that's wicked cool. That's wicked cool. Finally. I mean, because Valindra's been from one end of the Sword Coast to the other, failing at every turn.
Mm-hmm.
How she's still undead is beyond me.
Eh, you know,
I mean, it's one thing.
what was
It's
dead
one
can
thing
die
to
again.
fail.
Yeah.
It's another thing to fail Zastam.
Right. Right. And I think we're going to see more about, Zaztam and the rest of those factions and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one of the things I'm working on in the Villon Reach because historically the Villon Reach is where the Emerald Enclave comes from.
mhm.
So making that's their playground, that's their backyard. That's like the Lord's Alliance and the Harpers, and nobody goes near the Villon Reach because the Emerald Enclave will make sure that you're dead.
Right. And then I know there's going to be more stuff because Alex Kammer has been teasing Thay stuff too with the little symbol.
Oh, ooh,
So,
that's yummy.
yeah.
That's yummy. I would love to see because somebody said something about how the Zents, the Zentarim, are going back and filling up, taking over the old Thayan enclaves that the Thayans are sending west.
I mean,
And
the Zentarum are great.
yeah, I mean, I miss the days when they were never a well, not I can't say never. They were seldom existential threat to the planet, but not like Thay. But yeah, they were thoroughly evil. What a great villainous organization for a
I
campaign.
know. I know. I still uh my character who got elected to be the Chancellor of Flan was Zentarum, and the election was absolutely not rigged. There was no malfeasance at all involved.
Totally rigged election.
It's just
Totally fake.
a coincidence that the final two candidates were both Zentarum, and we're not sure what happened.
Oh, yeah, well, the world may never know.
Yeah, we definitely didn't eliminate the competition.
No, no. Why would you do that?
No.
Everything has to be fair and above board.
Yeah, it was an election by the people.
For the people.
Indeed.
Yep. And Flan. Who would expect anything more from Flan?
Uh, Flan is now a prospering town with lots of goats. Lots of goats. So many goats. Why are there?
Chef.
Why are there so many goats? Um, but yeah. Um, so trying to catch my train of thought there.
Oh yeah,
Goats.
we were last on. We were last on. How do you pick?
Yes.
You know, and really, it's whatever catches my eye at the time when I have a moment to work on something.
Okay.
That whatever interests me most at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I deliberately set myself to work on something salable because I believe that you can call yourself a writer, but unless you're willing to write when you really don't want to write and you're not particularly interested in that which you were writing, I don't think you can really call yourself a professional writer.
I
It
would
takes a certain amount of self-discipline, I think. But
disagree a
that's just
little
me being.
bit, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to besmirch anyone. This is my standard, not anybody else's.
yeah.
So I try to sit down and make myself write stuff when I don't really want to, and it's hard for me. It's really hard because,
I
like
think
many
yeah.
people, I have ADHD. So,
I think it can entirely be projects you're passionate about, but having that ability to force yourself to do the work every day is what makes it from like a
yeah.
hobbyist into, I'm still passionate about the project, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean I want to work on it 5 days a week.
Yeah, exactly, and I think yeah, passion dies. Passion can die really quickly.
It
That's one of
can.
the reasons why I try to work as many joint projects as I can,
Hmm.
because that tends to keep everyone involved honest, and, 'cause and it'll at least alert me when I drop the ball on something. Like, somebody had an idea for something about somebody started tossing around goofy curse ideas on Facebook, and, I started writing them down. Then I started creating my own. Like, not curses like your legs fall off, but curses like, "May the fleas of 1,000 camels infest your armpits" type curses. Just
Oh,
annoyances, right?
minor
So
curses.
yeah, exactly. Curses that don't really have any real in-game impact,
Okay.
right?
So more like a
Or if
little,
they
more
do,
like a
it's
little
comedic.
hex.
Yeah, like you sprout a little hat,
And
something like.
you can't get it off.
Right, right, and it makes you look like an idiot. Um, but so I contacted some people and said I would like, and anyone who weighed in on that comment thread on Facebook, I'm like, okay, here's a category, here's a channel on my Discord server, here's here's a folder on my Google Drive, here's a template, let's do this. And now we've got many ridiculous curses that, but my point is that I'd forgotten quite about it because I said, yeah, deadline March 1st. It is
Hmm.
now March.
7th.
Yeah, and I had forgotten that the project even existed until one of the participants said to me today, "Hey, can I get an extension?"
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. So now I have to go back and actually make this happen. But that's one of the things I love about working with other people is they keep you honest like that. And
They keep the passion alive, and you have that constant back and forth, which keeps you on track. And I really
mhm,
adore that too. Like, um, all of my most recent projects have been collaborations. The That's not true at all. Almost all.
almost
Um,
all.
yeah. So I partnered up for the season 10 epic that I did with John Connor Self. I wrote my Dreams of the Red Wizard adventure myself. Um, and then partnered with the rest of the guild adepts for the encounters in the far north. And
Right.
after that, the timeline's all really wishy-washy.
It all
Um,
runs together.
it partnered with Matthew Whitby on Kaiki's Torment,
Right.
and I don't know what I did before that. But it was a
In
collaboration
between there
too.
was in between there was some solo stuff I did that we were talking about before we went live. So I remember that, even if you don't want me to out you on the air.
I don't know. I don't know what I've done. I,
But it's yeah, there's a lot of the solo stuff is can be really inspiring, but I one thing I really don't like to do is adventure content by myself. It makes me super nervous. Unless the idea springs into my head completely unformed, like I did a warlock lair for Kobold Press,
hmm.
and people, if fellow designers out there, if you're at all good at adventure design, pitch something to Wolfgang because they're always looking for people to do the warlock lairs.
Right.
I mean, You're not going to get rich doing it, but you've learned that now by now in this industry, I'm sure. And
You're not gonna get rich.
it's an interesting exercise in adventure development, and Midgard is a woe dang setting.
hmm I
I
was
heart Midgard.
looking at the book at the store the other day, like literally.
That's another reason why I buy digital wherever I can. But yeah, the Midgard setting book is phenomenally good.
It's just a lot.
It's a lot.
um,
It's a lot.
it is a lot though, but it's also not at size 9 point font.
Yeah.
It, so it's a little less.
Yeah, it's not 9 point Bookmania.
The newest book is 10.5 point Bookmania.
I noticed. I
Yeah.
noticed.
So that's a
Still brand,
change.
still on brand, but easier for my tired old eyes to read. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely still not the Quest RPG book, which I don't even know, like, what is it, like some of it's like font size 22.
Oh yeah, it's extremely easy to use. I think it Spears and Spells. My minimum font size is 12,
Mm-hmm.
and and I'm not using Bookmania. I'm using something else. Cormorant, because I like the shape of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why does anybody choose a font? They like the shape.
Yeah, really. It looks nice. I think it's pretty.
Or in the case of people on a budget, it looks really, really, really similar to this paid for font, but it's
Oh,
not that font.
yeah, right. Well, hey, like taking it back a bit, Adobe,
Yeah. Looks
the
really similar, but
Adobe fonts mean I never have to say I'm sorry.
Adobe does have a impressive catalog. Before that I did the Encounters in Theros project and another Theros project, and then I worked with Alan Tucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan's a good egg.
Alan
Even
is
if he
good
does even if he does snipe at us from the comments, he's still a good egg.
That's half the fun of TTRPG Twitter though. is sniping at one another.
Yeah, that's why I tend to stay quiet on RPG Twitter, because dang.
And yeah, as he says, what are comments for other than to snipe?
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Very, very well put. Very well put.
I mean,
Keyboard commandos are everywhere.
Sometimes, sometimes I use them to compliment people. Sometimes I use them to tell people exactly how wrong they are.
Yeah.
With citations.
It's a thing.
With citations.
It's elegant when you can tell them how wrong they are while making it sound like a compliment.
I am indeed Southern.
Bless your heart.
I can do that. Yeah.
He's so sincere, bless his heart.
So I know you don't do a lot of adventure design. We've covered that. But one thing I like to kind of go through with people who do adventure design is a lot of people have different methods for approaching it. Like when you set out, like some people have a really cool villain in mind and they structure a whole story around that. Some people have a really cool location. Others have like last guest starts with a theme, which was a new one to me. Other people have, like they want this little scene to occur and they just build from that. I personally am most likely to start from, I found a really cool monster, everybody.
Guys. I am
gonna use it. So like, where do you start when you're doing an adventure?
Tropes.
Okay.
Whether it's go get the MacGuffin, or go rescue the princess, or go figure out what's going on at this place. I like to take the tropes and either use them as is and don't bother to camouflage them at all, because something, I forget who told me, but it was somebody like MT Black, said it's important to remember that someone who's playing your adventure is playing D&D for the first time. They don't know that rats in the cellar is a trope.
Correct.
Okay.
That's true.
But generally, I take tropes and I try to subvert them as much as possible, and twist them a little bit, like uh, Ransom at Falcon's Crest is when I think I actually got kind of close in making that happen because it's your pretty much go out and rescue the princess trope
Mhm.
to begin with, but then it turns out the princess is a badass who's fully capable of rescuing herself, and then from that's basically the midpoint arc of the adventure, and then various other happy things ensue, and there's demons and dead people and yeah, blood, lots of blood,
I've got
but
one where I
yeah,
similarly, the trope, go out and stop the bandit. You go out to the bandit. Turns out like he's just a guy who's gotten in way in over his head and owes someone a lot of money now and could really use your help.
yeah, yeah. That's that. Whenever I'm using bandits these days, I basically use the we're bandit the what made bandits and outlaws in our own history, which is basically economic hardship.
Mhm.
There people don't choose that life. The
A small
it,
number of them might.
yeah, I mean, there's always your odd egotist who gets off on pain and cruelty. But generally speaking, bandits are living an entirely. It's not Robin Hood. It's it's squalid, horrible living conditions. That very much Leviathan. It's Hobbes' Leviathan in action.
Mhm.
You're very much free, but your life is nasty, brutish, and short. And it's interesting to watch the faces on people who never quite considered the trope in that light.
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, the bandits are bad guys. They're like robbers and murderers." And you're like,
Yeah,
"Because no one's ever provided them an opportunity."
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, think of it this way: 24601. It's fun to explore that for me.
Mhm.
And MacGuffins, especially, I'd like one of my things that I like to do, and I haven't done yet. I do it in my home games all the time, just as because I can do it off the cuff and really role play the hell out of it. Is a sentient item that doesn't want to be reclaimed and is super annoying, which is what I got that from Journey Quest. The Sword of Fighting in Journey Quest just amused the shit out of me.
My favorite super annoying sentient item, it's not really my favorite, is Hezron.
Mm.
Annoys the shit out of me.
I love super intelligent magic items that really don't like the person who's attuned to them and either tries to take them over or just bitches constantly. You call yourself a fighter?
Well, my favorite part is all the people who have it and they act like it's just a normal sword who does all this stuff, and I'm like, no, he hates you.
Yep,
Your
yep,
your sword says no. What do you mean my sword says no? It says no.
yep. Your AC is degraded by 4, and you have disadvantage on attack rolls you make with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's fantastic. That's something I'm gonna have to put that in something that just make it starts out everyone thinks it's your McGuff classic secure the MacGuffin thing, but that's only like part one. You get to the dungeon, you get the MacGuffin really doesn't like you.
It's like, put me back where you found me.
Yeah, please stick my ass back in the stone, you goody two shoes piece of ugh. Round Table, Galahad. Stick me back in the stone, throw me back in the lake. Jesus.
I accidentally claimed a cursed berserker axe on my life cleric.
That's unfortunate.
Well, good news. After I hack your arm off, I can patch that right up.
Oh, that's gonna leave a mark. Here, have a band-aid.
I got a whole bag full of bandages. Granny Daria will patch you right up. Sorry about hacking that off in the first place.
Oh, jeez, I love it. I love it. But yeah, that's for adventure design. That's pretty much. I pick a trope.
Yeah.
Either that or I find a cool map because I've never driven a map. I've never drawn a map or had. Well, I did for the topic we were talking about before the show that neither of us are sure we're actually allowed to talk about. Um, but I start with maps and I wonder who lives there and
Right.
why. Thank
Y
you, Dyson Logos.
yeah, yes. Dyson and numerous other people. Maps are often excellent inspiration. Um,
I checked this, my happy little thumb drive, and I have, at last count, like 4.5 gigabytes of maps.
yeah. Maps are great. I I will say though, Dyson keeps putting out maps that keep inspiring my mother to add on to our we're working on a project together, and
Okay.
he put out first Simon's Tavern. So the character we're working with is her character Simon, and she's like, "Okay, so Simon owns a tavern, right?" And I'm like, "All right, so we're adding this in, and we gotta write in all the mechanics for like how you do a tavern. All right, cool, cool, we can do that." And then he put up some
Oh,
other
really?
maps.
Really? Mechanics about how to do a tavern?
Well, but not like so. Right, yes, but not like that, right? So it's a very shady tavern.
Oh.
How to do a tavern as like a completely legitimate business, which is in no way hiding some criminal organization.
There's no fronts here. What's a front? I have no idea what you're talking about.
All rears. Oh, and then he put up something else, and she's like, uh, there's an underground crypt. And I'm like, please stop publishing maps. But also don't.
Yeah, yeah, I know that. That's why every time Dyson puts up a new bundle on DriveThru RPG, I just buy it because every time he puts up something new in his commercial use
Mm-hmm.
blog, I go and get it.
Right.
But then I go and buy it again because it's the least I can do. The man is a the man is a industry treasure.
I have subscribed to the Patreon, and I have also bought some of the same maps again.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's so many artists out there that are great to patronize as well on Patreon, like Dean Spencer,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Yeah, I think if you're designing in the RPG space these days, if you're not like a Patreon of Dean Spencer's, fix it because it's super cheap and you get so much for it.
Mm-hmm.
And just the ability to use the art more than once makes it worth it.
That is true. That is true. Very valid.
And for a buck or two a month, sign me up. Derek Ruiz, Elvin Tower, same thing. His stuff is great.
Mm-hmm. There are so many talented creators, artists, um,
Hmm.
on Patreon now that like I have to limit myself.
Yeah. I was talking to some guys, some other guild creators about Kickstarter, and yeah, I have resolutely failed to back any Kickstarters in like the history of Kickstarter because I know so many good people doing great projects that I I feel bad because I can't afford to back them all. I want to
I I've
I want to
saved
back everyone, and I just can't physically do it, so I end up backing none, and that makes me feel even worse.
I've saved a lot of money during COVID by not going out and doing anything, so I've spent it all on Kickstarters and Patreons.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig. I've rolled all mine back into doing things like paying editors and buying more art and
Right, and so
getting things to a point where I can roll out spears and spells.
in
So
order to finance my Kickstarter habit, now I've been picking up editing work.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I needed art for a thing, which is why I started which is why I pitched a thing to Wolfgang at Kobold Press. I I had to pay my wife back for art I bought for something else. So
Yeah, the life of a RPG creator.
yeah, it wouldn't trade it for anything though.
No, no. All right. Well, we are near to, we're kind of at the end of the hour.
Good
Um,
heavens, yeah, so we are.
I know, right? Good heavens. Do you have any closing thoughts you want to share? Anything upcoming? Anything we missed that you definitely want people to know about?
Other than keeping an eye on my Twitter feed, because you'll start when the Indiegogo campaign for Spears and Spells kicks off. That'll get announced there, and you can also subscribe to the e-newsletter on kaboutergames.com. I think there's a link for that somewhere
I'm dropping
floating
it.
around. That'll keep you well and truly informed. I'm always on Discord, Twitter, Facebook, that sort of thing. So if you want to find me, if you want to ask me questions or talk to me about anything, if for some reason you think I can give you advice that I'm remotely qualified, go ahead and ask. And if I don't know the answer to a question, I probably know someone who does, so I can connect you. Um, yeah, it's just it. I love this community. The guild. Somebody observed, and I'll keep this short as a parting comment. Somebody observed the other day about the guild is like a training ground
Hmm.
for pro and semi-pro and pro, the next generation of the semi-pro and pro developers, and it is it's a lot like semi-pro baseball or minor league baseball, where you have to have a certain facility with doing the thing to begin with, but it really lets you polish your skills.
Hmm.
And if you have a greater or lesser amount of luck and a greater or lesser amount of talent, drive, and determination, you can make the step up. And it's whether it's working for other people, whether it's working for wizards, or whether it's doing your own thing, like a lot of us are doing, including Alan Tucker, if he's still in the chat,
He is.
um, with the Monsters Project.
Oh yeah, the Incredible Monsters. That's a great one.
Every time I see the logo for that, it truncates incredible to edible, and it freaks me out.
Well, I mean, technically you can eat them.
Yeah, ask Anne.
Most of them. Some of
Ask
them might be
ask
poisonous.
Anne Gregson. She wrote whole books on that, um, looting monsters and all. But yeah, it's like a training grounds. It's minor league ball, whatever sort of analogy or metaphor you want to throw on it. It's a great way to uh, learn the craft.
And
And
network.
yeah, the community is so vibrant. It's like no other pro-am community I've ever seen. Like there's very little competition.
There
And
are how many people playing D&D? So there are customers aplenty.
yeah, there's room and to spare. There's room and to spare. And a little bit it's join the community, engage with the community, ask questions, and have fun. If it stops being fun, stop doing it.
I think that's excellent advice. Excellent advice. Good closing words.
There you go.
All right. That is going to be it for this episode. So next week, you can catch it. It'll be pre-recorded. Um, but it'll be with Matthew Whitby. Unfortunately, it's a virtual D&D weekend, so scheduling doesn't quite work for it to be a live show. The week after that, I don't actually have anyone booked. I don't really know what happened there.
Shocked. Tucker, step up.
Yeah, so if anyone's free on the 21st. And then I've got some excellent guests coming up after that. Richard Malena, Bill Sheldon, Andy Demps, and Alex Clippinger up on the schedule. I'll call you to Alan. We got an opening, turns out. But yeah, lots of great stuff lined up. So looking forward to all of that. Got a lot of exciting stuff going on. We have the virtual D&D weekend coming up this weekend for Baldman Games. If you want to come play either of the Season 10 epics, Great Knucklehead Rally by Sean Merwin and Celeste, or the Terror in 10 Towns by myself and John Connor self. We'll be there. I'll be there all weekend. terrorizing players with owlbears.
Nice.
They were lovingly calling it TPK in 10 towns before it premiered.
Ooh, I love it.
I
I
do
love
too.
it.
It's great. It's good. Especially since you don't do any combat for like the first half of it. It's
If you can
great.
die without engaging in combat, you're designing something right.
You can always die with enough determination.
We should have gotten you on Jarlaxle's Guide to Traps. With an
Oh,
attitude like that, you would have been a fabulous asset.
you know, I think I was like super swamped in projects around then. I remember somebody mentioning something about it to me. Not inviting me, but mentioning it. But digress. Anyways, that is going to be it for this episode of The Designer's Den. Until next week. Bye everyone. I gotta find the stop button though.